Hi, everyone. Today I'm joined by two incredible guests whose talents brought Zanzibar to life in such a powerful way. First, we have Gary Appleton, an accomplished and versatile English voice actor whose work spans the globe. Gary's voice has been featured by Siemens Healthineers, Audible, NHS England, Goldman Sachs, Sky TV, and even the FDR Presidential Museum in New York City. He's known for being easy to collaborate with, always reliable, and someone who takes great pride in making his clients truly happy. And joining him is Jerry Levy, who many of you know under her pen name Arabella Pascal. Arabella is an American author who writes romantic suspense across two different worlds, historical works as Arabella Pascal and contemporary fiction as Jerry Levy. She's a world traveler, the founder of Look Gallery in Los Angeles, and previously served as the publisher of Form magazine. Together, Gary and Jerry have created an unforgettable listening experience, and today we get to explore their process, their collaboration, and the story behind Zanzibar. So, Gary and Jerry, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
You, yes.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Most of these questions that I have are centered around Gary and his experience bringing Zanzibar to life as the narrator. But Jerry, please feel free to jump in, you know, if anything sparks a thought. There are moments where the author's perspective adds so much richness, and I'd love for listeners to hear how the two of you approached the story from different angles. And I want to keep this very conversational, so flow wherever it feels natural. So, first question for Gary, how did you first get into audiobook narration and what drew you to this kind of work?
Well, I'd been a drama teacher for about 30 years, and people would often say to me, you've got a good voice, a good face for radio. You've got a good voice. You should do something with it. And to be honest, I didn't really know how, and so on and so forth. And like many people, when it came to the lockdown experience, there was more time, I suppose, to do some research about this and so on and so forth. And when I was able to, when restrictions were lifted and what have you, I went to London and did a 3-day course, basically preparing a showreel to send off. And I joined a few pay-to-play sites, sent off some auditions, and was lucky enough to get a few. And then I started to upload some auditions for Audible, and that's further down the line where I had the good fortune to meet with Jerry, which was wonderful.
Cool, yeah. And when you look back at your early years, what kept you going and when did it feel like this became your true path?
Well, when I was a child, I spent a great deal of time with my grandparents, and I loved and adored them. And I used to record stories for my nan. I'd make up stories with various voices and so on as a kid. And my nan, who has been my constant inspiration in life, long gone now, sadly, but there we are. Always said, "Oh, I can imagine you writing books one day." And I never did that, but I kind of, had lots of ideas, I suppose, for bits and pieces like that. So when I found that I could read books for a living, I felt like I was holding true to my nan's commitment in me. And also my mum, was virtually blind, and she took great comfort from audiobooks herself, and because she used to enjoy reading, but she could no longer do so. And so by reading these books, I felt like I was giving mum something as well. So there was very much a kind of sentimental reason for going forward.
Sure, yeah. And In terms of Zanzibar, what were your initial impressions when you read Zanzibar, and what about the story has resonated with you?
I'm not just saying this. It's been by far the most enjoyable thing that I've worked on. When I read it as a narrator, I was surprised by the twists and turns. I was excited by it. I was challenged by it. Uh, I loved its sweep. I loved its breathtaking twists and turns of fortune. And also, it was a lot of fun as well because there were lots of different characters to kind of work with. And Jerry writes very, very well and very descriptively and very accurately. So, the various dialogues of the characters, whether they were English, Cornish, Irish, or from the Middle East, all sounded very real and very plausible. I really enjoyed it. I never ever, when I was first reading it, saw the ultimate denouement as it's written. I didn't realize it was going to go in that direction. I hoped it would, but it was fantastic when that was confirmed.
Cool. And I'd love your thoughts on that too, if you'd like, Jerry. But what was it like to hear someone interpret your story for the first time?
It was it was beyond gratifying. Um, when I wrote the book, I was kind of in a stalemate when I decided to go with an audiobook. I had been talking to various publishers and just not had a satisfying result. I wasn't happy with distribution of the book. There were a lot of different issues, and I just felt like that the book was not being fully developed. And so, just kind of on a whim, I decided to look into audiobooks. And um, one of my favorite audiobooks that I've been listening to is by Daphne du Maurier, Rebecca. And Rebecca, I have to say, Daphne du Maurier. I mean, I have probably, if I want to say that I imprint myself on another author, it's probably Daphne du Maurier. She's just brilliant. And so I knew there were also pitfalls with audiobooks because I have also had favorite books that were destroyed by a narrator that I really felt like did not understand what the author was saying. I mean, so there's a good side and bad side to it. Anyway, so when I went on, what is it, ACX, which is the Audible uh, recording arm, I had a lot of trepidation. I didn't know anything about audiobooks. I didn't know really how to approach narrators. And so, to be perfectly honest, I really feel like the God smiled when Gary accepted my offer because it was just a perfect match. Uh, he Zanzibar is a very strong book. It's a it's not a book for. I always say it's not a book for everyone. It has eccentric characters and a real it took a real actor in order to be able to flesh those out. So what Gary did for me is he really completed the book. uh, I will always be grateful to him for in a sense creating something completely separate from what I have in writing and creating a completely separate entity. And I do consider Gary's version of Zanzibar to be the best version. If you want to know what this book is about, I would say listen to Gary.
Awesome. Yeah, so I would love to dig into your process and preparation, Gary, if I may. But when you begin a new project like this, what does your preparation typically look like?
Well, I skim read the book usually. I didn't with Zanzibar actually. I started by trying to find my way through the characters, and because the opening chapter, or the prologue, is so so gripping and so beautifully described. The darkness, the gothic horror, or the potential horror that's suggested in that opening prologue. I found myself kind of thinking, okay, let's have a go at this. Let's have a run at this. And to be honest, it then became quite instinctive. I'd read a chapter before I committed it to recording, and then there's this lovely potpourri of wonderful kind of British eccentrics, pompous asses and idiotic people, some of them, and the wonderful heroine and her wonderful kind of relationship with her father and so on. And actually, it sounds like a cliche, but it's absolutely true. I fell in love with these characters and the possibility of them. And so it never ever felt like, well, I mean, it never does actually, to be honest, because I love the process, and I love finding the characters and the rhythm of the story. It always felt like an exciting opportunity to discover what was happening next. And I just wanted to do justice to the characters that Jerry has written, and to do justice also to the pace and the build of the narrative, which is fabulous. It's fabulous. It's very filmic. It's very, very filmic, and it should be optioned, really.
And how has your approach to preparation and recording evolved throughout your career?
Well, I think I've come to grips with the technical aspect of producing audiobooks and so on, the slicker editing, different equipment that produces better results, obviously, and also not being afraid to turn projects down. I'm not in any way implying that there's a mountain of offers there. That wouldn't be true. But I think with Zanzibar, and I completely echo what Jerry said there about it being almost a God-given wonderful relationship, because it seemed like the right kind of book that I should be doing. Whereas perhaps earlier in my career, grateful for the offer, grateful for the opportunity, I perhaps read books that, in hindsight, didn't play to my strengths particularly, or indeed perhaps didn't play to what the author of that book necessarily wanted either. So it's about being patient and looking at the relationship. And I think also Jerry was a superb collaborator throughout the process, because I knew exactly what she wanted, because she would always communicate what she wanted. And because that relationship was very strong and established very early on, it became much easier then to make any changes. Whereas sometimes I think earlier on in my career, that wasn't always the case.
Interesting. And I guess just, a further question about the process. Is there a particular part of the process that brings you incredible joy? And on the other hand, is there a part of the process that is most challenging for you?
Yeah, well, the joy is finding the text and developing the text and the characters, and performing, reading, performing, narrating. I hate the editing, absolutely hate it, because it for me it's laborious. It can take a long time. I'm not, that's not my core strength, but it's something that I have to do. There have been many readings that I've done where I didn't realize that the cat had walked across the keyboard or purred near the microphone, for example, and that often means another half an hour's work to sort things out. So I don't like the editing particularly, although increasingly I found it fascinating, the effect that editing has beyond its natural function. But definitely the performing and the reading, and reading, good stuff. Good stuff is
Sure, sure.
preferable.
How do you think about the pacing, tone, and emotional flow when you're reading a book and narrating a book like Zanzibar?
Zanzibar starts as it means to go on. It's laden with atmosphere, and Jerry's comments about Daphne du Maurier, I completely agree with that. I also am a fan of Daphne du Maurier as well. And I knew with Zanzibar that it required a level of kind of seductiveness sometimes, intensity, which would obviously, the pace would quicken, moments of calm. I felt the book is so well written that, rather like musical notes on a score, you see where the highs and the lows are. You find the rhythm of it quite easily. It's something that naturally flows, but has, I can't really describe it. It's something that I've always felt very lucky, very blessed to have, which is a kind of sort of an ear for the dramatic, if that makes sense, and a connection to characterization and tones and hues of the story. And with Zanzibar, it was easy. It was easy because these people, I recognized these types, these characters and their function. Probably a very long-winded answer. I'm sorry about that.
Oh no, I loved it. And I'd like to pivot to you, Jerry. Were there any emotional scenes that you were especially excited or maybe even nervous to hear narrated?
I I have to it this is sounds weird, but there's a lot about Zanzibar that completely surprised me. Uh, in some ways, I have no idea where some of these characters came from. I really don't. And I know that some of them were shocking, uh, and and could be very difficult to handle for a
Hello.
narrator. Uh, but there were also things like the relationship between our heroine Charlotte and her father. And Gary brought such charm and just kind of such a pathos to that relationship. And it actually made me want to cry. It made me, in a sense, understand why I wrote that relationship in the first place. So it was interesting. What Gary did was he actually addressed some of the most some of the scariest moments in that book, and he charged into them head on, fearlessly, and was really able to bring out the real essence of a lot of characters who are very complex, and some of them are terrible characters, and he was fearless in developing them. And I know very few narrators could have done that. So I'm very grateful to him. He actually taught me, uh, in a sense, about who these people were.
Awesome. So I'd like to take a quick step back from the process itself, Gary. But what do you hope that a listener feels or experiences when they hear your narration of Zanzibar?
Well, I hope that they feel the excitement, the horror, as Jerry says, the pathos of the story, the conflicts that the book is. I don't mean in terms of physical violence, although there are elements of that, but the emotional conflicts that particularly the familial characters have. I think it's very human, and I would like them to feel sympathy for the protagonist as well as frustration, I guess, and I would like them to feel real hatred for the villains of the piece, because they really are very, very unpleasant characters. and I would like them to finish the story as I did, and actually experience and recommend it, and recommend the book, and this is something that's worth investing your time in, because I think that, I can't really talk about the audio version, but I can talk about the book as being an incredibly special story.
Absolutely. And for someone who's new to narration, what advice or guiding principles would you offer to them?
I think get training. I think know, spend a bit of time and money, if that is available to you, to really learn the basics. Because a lot of people are gifted with a voice that others will say, "Oh, you have a fantastic voice. You should use this," and so on. But we all have habits. We all have bad habits um, around our performance and our speech that we don't. No one's ever told us before, because we've never been in a room and a microphone with somebody who really knows the trade, who's an expert at it. And I think it's those, and I'm learning all the time. So I mean, nowhere an expert at all, but what I know now compared with what I knew then when I started that training process is significantly improved. No actor or performer really, unless they're terribly arrogant, says, "Oh, I gave a wonderful performance there." But I appreciate the feedback and sometimes the criticisms earlier on that enabled me to make those changes. So get a little bit of training, under your belt, and keep working at it. Keep sending out demos. Keep sharpening your tools, as it were, to improve.
And I guess just looking back at your journey so far, what is one thing you wish you had known when you first started?
I think, to be honest, I wish that I had kind of started with ACX or audiobooks sooner, actually, because it took a little bit longer for me to get into those. But they, for me, were the most fulfilling. And I think, it's very easy when you're beginning, particularly if you sign up to pay to play sites where you submit a voice reel, you pay an amount, often a fairly substantial amount per annum, for them to send auditions and so on and so forth. And actually, I think the market is so crowded there these days that is not necessarily the best way to go around it. I think that can lead to frustration if you didn't feel entirely confident in your own process as a voice actor. You may be forgiven for thinking, "Oh my goodness, no one's interested, no one wants to use my voice, give up." So I think everything's commercial, isn't it? But I think some sites perhaps offer more than they can truly deliver. And I found with audiobooks, for example, a much more enjoyable experience overall. Although I have done, as you said, other projects, but that tends to come from clients who I've worked with initially, and then they kind of say, "Oh, can you do some more? Can you do this? Can you do that?" And,
Sure. And on your end, if I may ask, Jerry, what's one thing you've learned as an author working with narrators that you'd share with other writers?
Well, my experience has been so positive. Basically, I do encourage every author, if they do have faith in their own book, to have a narrator come in and do an audiobook version. They need to hear their own work. There's something, and I read an article years ago that said essentially when you are writing, your brain automatically tries to verbalize what you are writing. So in a way, when you are writing, you're already trying to hear it. So by doing an audiobook, you really bring that into the light. And I think it could make a better writer. I have a second edition of my book, uh, partially because one day I was listening to Gary's uh, audio audio of the book, and I thought, oh my God, I have to change something because I was hearing it. It's like by looking at it, I couldn't see it, but by hearing it, by listening to Gary, I actually wanted to do some rewrites. So I do believe that audiobooks and working with a narrator as talented as Gary can actually make you a better writer.
That's a very interesting perspective. And I'd like to ask just one more question, Gary, but what's next for you and where can people find you?
Well, I'm on ACX, and I'm also on a site called Mandy Voices. Actually, I don't have any projects at the moment at all. For personal reasons, I've been sort of preoccupied recently, but I'm looking forward to new opportunities because I love it. I love the creativity, and I love the process. And yeah, I'm looking forward to what offers may come.
Sure, sure. And Jerry, what are you working on next and where can people find you?
Well, I'm way behind, but I'm working on the Highgate trilogy. So Zanzibar is the first of a three-book series, and my second book that I'm working on right now is Mistral, which is basically uh, taking Charlotte's, who was in Zanzibar, taking her cousin Lydia on and taking her character, and she's going to be dealing with the mysterious death of her father and a massive insurance company called the Syndicate. So we're going to go on a new adventure to Corsica and Marseille. Gary.
I'm getting my passport ready as we speak. I'm laughing because Lydia is such a wonderful sort of flighty character, isn't she? She's
a naughty girl.
She's a very naughty girl, yes. I shall have to open some windows when I record that one, I think. That would be lovely. Yes, that would be wonderful.
Good.
Awesome. Well, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Gary. Yeah.
No, thank you. Sorry, I must tell Jerry this because it may either horrify her or amuse her. But I go to a gym, and there are quite a lot of seniors there, senior citizens, and we've been befriended, and I've told them about Zanzibar, and I've played some of the chapters to them brief excerpts from the chapters, and they blush quite a lot. They're all quite desperate to get the book.
I love it.
So you might have a spike in sales from a group of senior citizens.
That sounds good.
Not the only market for the book, but they seem to appreciate it. So there we go. A book for all over 18.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'd like to thank you both for your time today, and we will drop a link to if you'd like to buy Zanzibar on Amazon or listen to the audiobook on Spotify, and we'll also drop a link on where to find you, Gary. So thank you both for your time this morning and to your evening, Gary. So thank you.
Well, It's been a very great pleasure, and thank you very much for inviting me.
It's been a pleasure, and it's lovely seeing you, Gary.
And you. Until the next time.
Till the next time.
Keep writing. Take care.
Okay.
Both of you, take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.